Welcome to the Free Thought Forum. My name is Brian Fields, and this is my co-host, Jen Flora.
Good
And
afternoon, everybody.
today is the 25th of September. It is our bi-weekly show. We normally have our show the second and fourth Tuesday of every month. And this week's show, we're going to talk about child indoctrination in
Yeah,
religion.
we really want to encourage people to call in on this one because we need to get some viewer opinions on this.
Right. But before we get started on that, let's cover a bit in the news.
I think that'd be a great idea, but first, I think we have one very important piece of information we need to give out.
Which one is that?
And that is, and don't get too excited, don't be jumping up and down on your couch, but this weekend coming up, in just a few days, we will be having a conference in Harrisburg.
Yes. Pennsylvania Nonbelievers is one of the main sponsors in the first annual Pennsylvania State Atheist Humanist Conference. We're going to have our main event Saturday and Sunday, and they are $50 for the weekend or $10 for students. And if you want to check out more information, go on the web to atheistpa.org, and you can buy tickets there. I will be there, and are you going?
I'm going to try to be there, and they can get tickets at the
door
at the
if they
door
want,
too.
yes.
You can also get tickets at the door, and also if you can only come one day, and still want to participate in that one day, that's what, $30?
Yeah, that'll be $30 a day.
So, and it's just going to be very exciting, and we encourage you to come by. And
we have a lot of great speakers coming. Dave Silverman's going to be there. He's the president of American Atheists. We've got Dan Barker, one of the co-presidents of the Freedom from Religion Foundation. We've got Mike Newdow, who was in the news a few years back about the Supreme Court case with the Under God stuff. We've got all sorts of other speakers as well. It should be a fascinating conference and a lot of fun. And Sam Singleton, who's a comedian, he'll be there in the evening on Saturday. It's just a lot going on.
So we'll have speakers, entertainment, comedy.
Yeah.
I mean, we have it all in a little package over the weekend, and
especially if you're a student, I mean, what else are you? I mean, lunches come with these tickets, so you are, you're getting more out of the event than you're paying into it. $10 for lunches on 2 days, and all those speakers and stuff. So yeah, you should check it out, and it's a big deal, and I hope to see you there. We are.
we got some other news bulletins that we'd like to present, and before we get into our topic, and I think you have one very important one that you just got.
Yeah, there's a bill that was scheduled to be reviewed in the House Education Committee today at 10 o'clock in the morning. The bill was trying to get religiously affiliated child care supervised under different rules than secular child care. They were the Secular Coalition for America was working with another lobbying group in the state, the Early Childhood Education Consortium, to fight this. The committee hearing was closed, and they weren't able to do a whole lot. But luckily, the bill was pulled from the committee agenda, and it's dead. And I don't know how much you know about religious attempts to reduce regulations on religious childcare, but it is it's a very big deal. They hang on one second. We're
just trying to add some interesting little sound bites.
Yeah, I don't know how familiar you are with the problem, but this has been an ongoing issue. Religious groups keep trying to lower the bar for doing child care, as opposed to what's required normally for the for secular groups, for your normal,
And we can actually really go along with our topic on this one. What would they benefit? How would they benefit from just all this deregulation? Is it so that more churches can open up religious daycares and maybe at a lower cost, and then they can get parents to come in, maybe parents of who need a low cost daycare, and then they can just start proselytizing? I mean, is this a benefit? Is this something that they're pushing towards, or am I just kind of, spewing rhetoric?
Well, the problem, yeah, it's crazy what they're trying to do. I mean, they just there's one set of rules. There's one set of rules for the daycare services, and to say, well, let's go have exceptions because we're religious and, well, we're so much better than everybody else, and why not? I mean, why should anybody in our society actually accept that as an acceptable thing? I
Well,
mean,
what concerns me too is just the general public that would allow. I mean, I would not, as a parent, want my child going to a daycare that wasn't under any regulation. When I actually did send my son to a daycare that was basically, you can call it religious. They would pray before a meal and stuff like that. Now, why did I send my son to this? Well, I felt that it was one of the better ones I came to. I liked the person who ran it. I felt he was very safe there, and it was very well regulated. I mean, right up to the T. I can't have this plastic bag here because if the inspector came in, blah, blah, blah. I mean, it was really run, and I really liked the fact that all those regulations were in place.
right.
And I really felt, and just the fact that this person was always making sure that her daycare was up to par. That meant a lot to me. And
Right.
so, and it wasn't a lot of proselytizing there, but there was a religious base to it. And I just had to accept that. And I did, because I just felt that was the appropriate care. He would get the appropriate care at that daycare.
Right. And, I mean, and how would you feel? I mean, I'm a parent and you're a parent. I know how I would feel, but how would you feel if all of a sudden, that safety net's no longer there? That you can't trust because somebody says they have a religious institution running it, that you can't trust that your child is giving the same amount of care that they would get in a secular institution, and even worse, that that wouldn't be common knowledge, that people wouldn't realize that, hey, because you're a religious institution, you have a different set of rules that you get to go by. I mean, how would you feel?
Yeah, I see. Personally, if I was already sending my child there and all this happened, I would not like it.
Yeah.
I would not like it. It opens the door to a lot of various problems, and I think one of them, we were talking about before the show, is the possibility of them not having to get all the paperwork in, all the background checks. Well, I'm sorry, but you're going to work with my child. You need a background check. I want you to have one.
Right, and all the other regulations. I mean, there's many regulations right now for any secular child care institution. In order to operate properly, there are inspections that need to be done, and there's all kinds of paperwork and all kinds of background checks and all kinds of stuff. And to take any of that and lessen it just because, oh, well, we need help from the government to run because we're a religious institution and, because they're tax-free. No, I mean, come on. There's a level playing field. There's one set of rules. Everybody gets to play by it. And if you lessen those rules are there for a reason.
Well, how do these other businesses that don't operate under the guidance of a church or anything like that, how do they survive then? How do these other daycares survive if they need to make money just as much as anybody else?
Right.
And I think the churches, what they want is they want to offer
free or low cost.
a low cost.
Yeah. Well,
and
you know
possible
what?
free for some parents who really need it.
But that doesn't mean that you sacrifice the regulations. You don't
No, absolutely
sacrifice
not.
the rules.
Absolutely not.
If if you're going to make some kind of programs available for daycares to offer free and low cost, then it should be open to everybody. It shouldn't be open to just religious institutions. There's nothing that the religious institutions can offer over and above any other institution. So if an institution, any institution, wants to be able to have a low-cost solution or look for some kind of subsidy to save money, then the subsidy is something that you should consider, and that should be available to everybody. It should not be available to just religious institutions, and it should, you should still have those safety rules, because I don't care who you are. A child's safety comes first, and those rules are there to protect our children and their safety. And anytime you would try to abrogate those rules for religious reasons are just as ridiculous than any other reason. Why would you think that was I mean, there would be no reason to think that was okay.
And I really do think that this goes along with, we probably should have done this one last, because this really does go along with some of what we wanted to talk about today, and how how do you feel about children being proselytized? How do you feel about someone coming up to your child and talking about Jesus? If you were Jewish, how would you feel about that?
Yeah.
And that I think maybe if you want, we can get to the other news stories, and then we go right back on topic.
Well, I promise I'll come back to children here before we get back into the topic. I have one more that is somewhat child related, and then we'll move into the main topic.
Well, this is exciting. We didn't talk about all our news stuff.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a new one on me too. So.
All right. So, well, my next item here is I don't know how many of you have been following the renegade Amish bishop and his beard and hair cutting attacks. But he and 15 of his followers were convicted Thursday of federal conspiracy and hate crimes. That's last Thursday. And on a fellow Amish who rejected his edicts. Essentially, if you don't know a lot about it, it's called the Bergholz clan. It's about 20 families who live in Bergholz in Ohio. Some of the former members have accused the clan of being a cult, but a judge forbade the federal prosecutors from describing the group with words such as cult, sect, clan, band, schism, faction, offshoot, breakaway, renegade, rogue, or splinter group. It's funny, before I continue, I've heard it said that, the difference between a religion and a cult is that somebody in both groups knows it's all a scam. In a religion, that person is dead.
I heard that one. That's a great one.
Anyway, so the witnesses were allowed to describe it any way they chose. But according to the FBI, former members claimed that Mullet had been counseling married women in his clan, taking them into his home so that he may cleanse them of the devil with acts of sexual intimacy.
That's an interesting form of cleansing.
Yeah, well, prosecutors say this practice demonstrates the level of control that Mullet had over his followers. The beard and hair cutting attacks came about because Mullet was angry that the other bishops refused to accept his excommunication of members who tried to leave the group. And the Bible, the Amish believe that the Bible instructs them to let their hair grow after marriage as a sign of their devotion to God. So shaving the hair and the beard is to essentially sever show that you've severed your relationship with God. The prosecutors argued that the attacks were intended to humiliate those who questioned his cult-like methods, which included forcing errant followers to sleep in chicken coops and pressing married women, including his own daughter-in-law, to accept his intimate sexual counseling. Some of the victims had angered Mr. Mullet by refusing to honor his shunning decrees against his foes, calling them an improper use of his power as a bishop, and accepting those he sought to banish into their own churches. Other victims had moved out of his settlement and attacked him as a cult leader.
This is very common when people, and almost like a very large percentage. Boy, there's always one word I can't say on each show. Today is percentage. But anyway, when there's a very high percentage of people who say, yeah, that is a cult, there's always this, I mean, maybe not always, I shouldn't use the word always, but it just seems that there's a high percentage of them that have this sexual
Well, the thing,
component.
yeah, and the thing about the cults in general is, I joked about the idea of not much difference between a religion and a cult, but in a cult, you're usually referring to a smaller group, and that's really, at one time, they called Christians a cult. So I mean, Christians shouldn't use that word as a derogatory term considering the history, but when you talk about a cult, you're usually talking about a small insular group.
Well, I think that's what we do today. Yeah.
You're talking about an insular group, and with that, you usually in those types of groups you have some level of secrecy and autonomy,
And there has to be someone that controls it.
absolutely, and it's when you give that person, and when I'm talking about the person, and rather than the religion in this case, but the person, that kind of power over your life, it's pretty easy to run into that risk of that person doing whatever they want to do.
I agree, and religion is what's happening too is the religious idea makes it easier for that person to instill fear in their
Well, not only
followers.
instill fear and to use it as a control mechanism, because in that case, you've got somebody who is God blessed, from God, or connected in some way to something that you don't quite have, and so that person is better than you. So it makes it harder to question what they say. It makes it harder to say, you want to do what with my wife? And you know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's easy to abuse that kind of power when you have that over people, and that's why it's important to actually, think critically about these things, and say, well, if this was my friend, would I give that person this power over me that I'm giving this person who says they're from God?
Right.
If I
Don't
wouldn't
just jump into things.
right, if I wouldn't
Really.
give that power to a friend of mine, then why would I give it to this pastor? And to say, well, you can't talk to the outside world, you get that insular behavior, that it's all warning signs of cult behavior, and it's something, and it's even worse, I suppose, with the Amish, considering how sheltered they are to begin with.
Oh yeah.
So it provides an excellent opportunity for that kind of abuse.
All right. Well, we'll have to. Well, and I think one thing this story does show is, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, if you do something wrong and we catch you.
Yeah, it'll happen.
So just think about it.
Well, I promised that I would circle back to children, and we can't have a show about children without mentioning the Catholic Church, because why not?
Because it's just fun.
Yeah, they make it so easy.
And if you're a Catholic out there, and
Call us.
if you don't appreciate this, come on, give us a call. And the number's on top of the screen. And it is too small for me to read.
It's 717-846-5067.
There you go. So.
And now we know Jen needs new glasses. So. All righty then. Well, the next one I have here is Reverend F. Lee Ryan in Joliet, Illinois, is an accused child predator whom the Catholic Church was certain molested at least one 14-year-old boy in the 1970s. However, he will not, the bishop, Daniel Conlon, will not remove Ryan from working as a priest, because at the time, 14 was the age of consent.
Wow. What do you say to that?
Oh, and by the way, Bishop Daniel Conlon is the head of the U.S. Catholic Bishops' Committee on Sexual Abuse. This effectively puts him in charge of administering children's safety for the Catholic Church all across of America. How safe do you think that makes your kids now?
I very few kind of render me speechless, but this is just one of those that What do you say? What do you say to that?
And here, oh, it gets better. The bishop says that Rome has decided that at the time Ryan allegedly molested a teen, what he did was not considered a serious crime by the church according to church law at that time. For that reason, Ryan could not be removed from the ministry altogether. Ryan's alleged victim, now 52 and living out of state, was shocked at the decision to keep Ryan in ministry when he learned of it last week. I was actually in disbelief, he said. I just couldn't believe that they would reinstate Ryan, and he asked that his identity be kept private. As far as the Catholic Church is concerned, the allegations have been substantiated. Make no mistake. This is not he said it, she said thing. The allegations are confirmed. There's no debate that this guy raped a 14-year-old boy.
And callers or viewers, how do you feel about this? Do you think this is okay? Is this something that you know, we need your opinions. We need to hear what you have to say about this. And again, let's go a little slower with the number. You can get a pen and pencil and write it down. 717-846, am I getting this right?
846-5067.
5067. Hopefully you have that written down. We need your opinion on this one. Should the Catholic Church be doing this with this guy? Should he be in jail? Well, I mean...
And to throw this in there, as far as the church is concerned, the allegations have been substantiated. The priest has not been convicted in a court of law. But the church, who's making the decision about church priests, are absolutely convinced he is, well, guilty is the wrong word because they don't think it was a crime, but that he did do what he's being accused of.
Right. So they're saying he did do this. However, this young man was 14 at the time and at the age of consent, which is just ridiculous.
Well,
and
yeah,
also, according to church church rules, there was nothing broken.
Right.
How do you feel about this? Does this make you feel safe?
Yeah.
Do you know, are you Catholic and do you want to just come out and say, wow, you know, this is really creating a bad name for the church and I wish they'd do this, this, this? Again, what do you think? Give us a call. The number is at the top of the screen. And
they were convinced so much that they've restricted this priest, who is still a priest, to a ministry that is limited to Catholics who can't leave their homes. And they're convinced enough that they're paying for the therapy of the man who got molested. So that is, I mean,
I can't hold it back. Our crew here is trying to push jokes on us, you know. Maybe just to get us to smile. Maybe we weren't smiling enough. We're too serious about this. This is serious stuff here, talking about a priest and stuff like that. But I was trying my best, but I couldn't hold back. But anyway,
yeah,
on with the
I don't,
show.
guys. I don't think that joke's appropriate for even public television. But.
So anyway, on with the show, right? Give us a call, 717-846. I cannot see those last letters. What,
5067.
5067. We need your opinion. We need your input. We need you to talk to us and tell us how you feel about this story.
Well, that's all the news that I have. Did you have anything you wanted to share?
I did have something I wanted to share. And, you know, I think about almost every time that I come on this show, there's always something on Facebook that I saw that it's like, oh my gosh, I have to say this on the show. I mean, it just has to be done. And a few shows back, we were talking about marriage and gay marriage and stuff like that. And I've always tried to bring up things that I read on Facebook, and I love this one.
Before you started, I just want to share, okay, I do want to mention that our crew, who is using the teleprompter to communicate with us, told us that they actually weren't joking. That what they were talking about was some of the things that this priest was doing, which involved whipped cream and the boys, and there were pictures online. So it wasn't a joke. It was actually serious, and it's scary that we thought it was a joke.
That is really scary. That is really scary. And, you know, to think that it was actually done, I mean, that just blows my mind.
Yeah.
So. That's just wow.
Yeah.
You know, give us a call.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. That I'm still in shock that that wasn't even a joke.
Right.
I mean, anyway, there are pictures online about, I guess,
What he did and
what
all
he
that
did
stuff.
and all this stuff.
Google is your friend. Feel free to research. But let's go
And-
ahead and move on to.
Yes. Anyway, I
interrupted
always
you
like to do
rudely.
this Facebook things, and here's one that I just absolutely loved. I had to jump on the bandwagon. I had to repost it. It says claiming that someone else's marriage is against your religion is like being angry at someone for eating a donut because you're on a diet. I just love all these little things, and I just
Yeah.
have to repost them sometimes because, I mean, how true is that? It sounds funny. It sounds a little ridiculous, but how true is that?
Well, absolutely.
You know, I mean, it's just I just love it, and you know, this doesn't even apply to gay marriages. It also applies to how many people try to marry cross religions.
Right, or
You know.
interracial, and it wasn't too long ago that interracial marriage was a huge deal, and in some areas of the country, it still is a huge deal. So I mean, actually, in my grandfather's eyes, it's still a huge deal.
Oh yeah,
interesting.
when my
But-
one aunt, I mean, this is back this is back many years ago, but when she was planning on getting married, my grandmother was concerned because he wasn't Catholic.
Right.
This
It-
was a big concern, and well, how are the children going to be raised? And that is where we're going.
Actually, that's still preached from the pulpit in many churches. They call it being unequally yoked. That is that you are not yoked. The metaphor is being yoked with your partner, and that if you are religious and your partner is not of your religion, that is not a good thing. And in the Bible, it actually does talk about how that is not good. That you should not marry someone who is not of your religion.
Right, and I mean, apparently in their eyes, it brings up a lot of questions on how are the children going to be raised.
Oh yeah.
I mean, who is going to get the say into what they're learning? And that's part of our show today.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a good thing? None of us are really experts on parenting, and I don't really think that there are so many books on parenting out there that really, where do you turn?
Right.
I think sometimes it's just common sense and knowing your children.
Well, I never one shy to offer my own opinion. I do want to say, and this may shock many of our audience members, but I think that a religious education is vitally important to your children's critical thinking skills.
I'm shocked. No, I'm just kidding.
However, I think that it needs to be taught from the perspective of the effect that religion has on culture, the history of the religion, and so on and so forth. Teaching religion as fact, obviously, is confusing at the very least. But I mean, obviously, if you're a Christian parent, if you were trying to teach your child about Judaism or Muslim faith or Buddhism or any of the other religions, you would be teaching them the religion from a purely factual
Objective
point of view.
almost.
Well,
Objective.
almost. It depends. Sometimes comparative religion, when you get it based in religion, when Christians do comparative religion courses, a lot of times it's based on, well, and this is why they're wrong. So there is some bias there. But I mean, obviously, when you're teaching religion, teaching them.
I'm still joking. This is
Okay.
laughing is contagious. If you have a joke, call us. We need to hear one.
Anyway, so when you're teaching kids religion, obviously, I think that there needs to be some objective teaching. That you shouldn't be teaching religion from this is a factual standpoint.
Well, and there's a challenge. Okay, parents, now we're challenging you. I mean, give us a call, and can we do this? Can we be objective in teaching our children about the various religions, the maybe reasons why people don't adhere to a religion, and let the children make up their own minds? I honestly don't think that we teach enough critical thinking, because critical thinking is a skill. It's
Right.
learned.
Well, yeah.
It's learned over time. You don't just wake up one morning and become a critical thinker, number one, in order to be a critical thinker, you need information.
Yeah.
You need to have knowledge, you need to have input, you need to know what you're talking about.
That's true.
You really can't make a decision or think about something at any length if you have no idea.
Right.
And so basically, all you're doing is providing your children with enough information to make an informed decision and to think about what everybody else is doing and what's right for them.
Right. And, the it's been said quite a few times before that, the number one indicator of what religion your child is going to turn out is the religion you grew up with in the area of the world you grew up in. I mean, you're typically people who grow up around here are going to end up being Christian. Why? Because the majority of people here are already Christian, and Christians don't teach their children how to be Muslims. They don't teach their children how to be Jewish. You don't teach other religions. So it's typical that you would learn the religion of your parents.
Well,
But by the same token, then you offer the conversely, well, that means that if you were born in any other part of the world, you might be a different religion. So,
and it's very interesting that you bring this up because I grew up with the misconception that, I grew up in a Catholic household and with the misconception that the only difference between a Christian, and I'll just say Christian as a broad term, and I'll use the word Jewish, the only difference is they don't believe in Jesus and the Christian does.
well, there's a few more differences.
And there's,
but-
well, that was the misconception I
Oh,
grew up
right,
with.
right. That's what you were taught. That
And
that
then
was different.
I looked into the Jewish religion. Why do they believe this? Why don't they believe that there is a Jesus and this, that, the other? And I learned that there are a lot more differences.
Well, Christians like to draw, well, actually, people. I shouldn't just say Christians, because human beings do this. We like to draw neat little boxes with labels about everybody around us, and we fit people into those boxes, and those labels then apply universally to everybody in that box. And, it's a common thing we do as a species, and so that when you draw your box Jewish, and you throw people into it, and you say, well, they just don't believe in Jesus, and that's the limit of what you've been taught, then that's how you grow up. And it's really important that we teach these skeptical values, even for religious people, to examine. I was just using this box metaphor. If you understand that throwing people into boxes doesn't educate you in detail as to what that box actually means, or whether it's appropriate to put people in the boxes. It's those tools of critical thinking
Well,
and
think about your
skepticism.
school days.
Yeah.
How many times did you go to school and you hear, okay, folks, think outside of the box?
Yeah.
So here we are throwing people into these boxes and we can't even think outside of them. We can't even go outside of them and be objective and say, well, why do you believe this? What is this doing for you? It's just amazing how you go to school and they actually do try to teach you these critical thinking, think outside the box and go for it, research, do this. And yet, what do we teach our kids at home? No. This is the way it is. This is what we believe, and this is what you have to grow up believing. And if you don't, I'm going to be so disappointed, and I'm going
Or
to
you'll
know
go
I'm
to
a
hell.
bad parent.
Or you'll go to hell.
And you will go to hell, but I
Yeah.
won't.
Yeah. Well, but and that's the thing, and that I don't mean to pontificate, but I am sitting here, so why not? But we actually in our education system we do a lot of that whole rules-based memorization. We go to school, we go to the classroom, we're told, well, you got to memorize this, and you got to be able to regurgitate it. But we don't actually teach our children why those words are on the page in that particular order and how it interacts. We teach kids facts, we teach kids dates, we teach kids math, we teach kids things like that. And don't get me wrong, all of those things are important. We should know important dates and things like that. But we should also be able to put that information together and tear it apart and reuse it and understand it fundamentally in order to educate our children properly. And the same comes with religious education, and this is to tie back what I was saying earlier. in order to examine why it is we believe what we believe, we have to know the history and how it fits together and how that all is part of a greater picture of why we believe what we believe. There's this joke that I've heard told before, and I'm not very good at telling jokes, but I'm going to give it a go anyway, about a mother, or about this daughter. She's trying to cook a turkey for the very first time. And she's watched every Thanksgiving her mother make this turkey. And so what she does is she cuts the ends off the turkey and puts it in the pan and puts it in the oven. And she got to thinking, well, I don't know why we did it. So she, because, it's a turkey, why would you need to cut the ends off the turkey? Why, I don't understand how we can make that fit. So she calls up her mother, and her mother says, well, I do that because that's what my grandmother what your grandmother used to do, what my mother used to do. I'd cut the ends off the turkey, I'd put it in the pan, put it in the oven. And she goes, oh, well, maybe I'll go talk to grandmother and see what she has to say. And she goes talk to grandmother to see what she has to say. Well, I don't know. That's what my mother did. Oh, okay, well, I'll go talk to my great-grandmother. She goes to great-grandmother. Oh, well, back in the day, our pan was only this big and the turkey was this big. In order to get it to fit in the pan, we had to cut the ends off the turkey.
It's actually a good one.
So, but it illustrates the point. If we don't understand why it is what we do,
If we're just doing it because our parents did it or someone else did it and then someone else did it.
then we fall into this dogma, this idea that this is the way it is because that's the way it's supposed to be, rather than this is the way it is because there are very good reasons for it, and this is what those reasons are. We should always know what the reasons are.
And you know what? I don't want to interrupt, but again, callers, you know what? Your opinion is vital. And give us a call in. And, we don't.
Call us, we're lonely.
Yeah, we need to hear from you. We're not going to. I don't want people to think they're going to call in, give a difference of opinion, and we're going to attack you. We're not going to attack your difference of opinion. We want to hear it. We want to know what people are thinking. What do you think? How did you raise your kids, and do you think it was right or wrong? Do you wish you could go back? Are you in the middle of it now, thinking, maybe I need to rethink something? What are you doing?
And if you're especially if you're a religious clergy, and as we're involved in children's religious education, especially, call us. So we'd love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, and I mean, how do you feel about do you teach one-sided things, or do you teach other things objectively? I mean, what do you do, or do you think that it's just appropriate? I mean, one of the things I was also going to talk about is missionary work.
Okay.
And missionary work, to me, it's another form of proselytizing in many ways. It can be very valuable. It can go into areas where they need certain things done.
Okay.
But
I'm skeptical of that position.
but you have the oh my gosh, and their name escapes me. I want to say Muslim, and that's not it. It's
Mormon?
Mormons. They're, for a lot of the Mormons I've talked to said that this is a necessary part of their growing up.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is. It's an expectation.
Yeah, they go and they do, and I've talked to Mormons who said, well, they tell me about their children, and one's off doing missionary work. And to me, did this child grow up? Did they have all the right information? Is this really what they want to do? Is it something that's right for them? Mm-hmm. I mean, and I'm sure there's many values to them, going to different places, doing different things. I mean, there's many values in it for them, but it's not for everybody.
Right. Yeah. I understand that. I kind of feel bad because the Mormon missionaries I've met seem to be fairly not very well informed of much other than, I go back to talking about, the turkey and the pan and the history. If you're given a whole bunch of rote things to say, it doesn't equip you for discussing things from a reasoned standpoint. And then anytime I've had an extended conversation with a Mormon missionary, it's always been, this is the way it is. And then when you engage them in discussion, they don't know how to respond. They don't know how to respond beyond the parameters of what they've been taught. You know, the same thing happens when I talk to other religious people who come to the door or anything like that, because I do engage them, and my wife gets annoyed when I engage them, but I will engage them, and you know, once you have identified yourself as an atheist, a lot of times the first reaction is, well, what made you turn around and hate God? I mean, that's generally the reaction. You must hate God because you're an atheist. And no, God is a piece of fiction, and I don't hate God any more than I hate Harry Potter or Voldemort or anything else.
Exactly.
I don't believe in him, and that's very different. And so we, when I when I engage these people, there's very much the sense of reading from a script, you know, of this is what I've been taught, and when I'm asked something that is beyond the scope of what I've been taught, I can't think past
Well,
that.
you know, I used to, I mean, not here, but, you know, when I used to live in New Jersey, I used to have people come to the door, and they always had these little booklets with them.
Oh yeah.
And they were more than willing to leave one with you, and I'll come back and we can talk about this. And I just, I really, number one, I hated the intrusion. I appreciate, you know, it's kind of funny because I've actually heard of not only atheists do this, but clergy from other religions actually engage the people that come around to the doors and argue with them.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I just, so I find it so interesting that they go around to all these different people, and I wonder, like, do they get anywhere with it?
Well, I think that often they don't, but I mean, they look at it as a spiritual calling, that they're called to go do this. It again comes back to that box thing. This is what I've been taught. I've been taught that one of my responsibilities is to go around and try to convince people of the Word of God. So as long as they're trying to do something, it doesn't matter how useless it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's because they've been instructed to do so, and they're doing as they instructed.
Right.
And that's what's important.
And that's where there is no critical thinking. They're just, like you said, they're going out, and this is the information they've been given.
Right.
But, you know, when you have someone responding to something of a different faith or something like that, you're not equipped to handle these questions. You're not equipped to say.
A lot of times, what they'll do is they'll have like a pamphlet, and that'll say, how do you respond to these particular faith groups? And they have some top faith groups, and atheist is usually one of them. But the thing is, it's written by people who don't understand the faith group they're talking to. You know, they have their own conception of what this faith group is, or non-faith group, as the case may be. Mm-hmm. So when you have your own perception of what someone is, and you don't have an actual understanding, then you're not communicating, and you're not going to be very successful. You have to understand the person you're talking to. And I found that, you know, we go to a lot of festivals, and we spend a lot of time in booths and talking to our tables, and talking to the general public. And there are people who come up and they will talk to us. And it's very important to listen and understand the person you're talking to be able to effectively communicate with them.
Yes, and by the way, just to try to get more callers in, and just to, you know, get that number out there again, the 717-846-5067.
You've got it memorized.
Yes, I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We want to get that number out there again because we need to hear from you. We need to hear what you think. And one of the things that made me remember to really throw this out there is when we're at the booths, we have very civilized conversations with people. They walk away with their own opinion, and we usually stick to ours, but they're very civilized, interesting conversations.
Although I do find it, you know, some of our members do collect chick tracts just for giggles. Do you know what chick tracts are?
No.
They're the ones that are they're usually black and white comics They have like a statement on the cover, like
Okay.
and they're usually 10, 15 pages, and then at the end, and they're by Jack Chick Publications. This guy is the guy who produces those. He's been doing it for decades. I mean, for a very long time. They've been publishing these, but frequently, I mean, there's a whole library of them. If you go online and you search for Jack Chick, you can find them online, and you can actually read all of them on their website, I believe. But some of them are rarer than others, and they're entertaining, full of absolute drivel and nonsense, but entertaining.
Okay.
And I got one at the Sunbury event we did. Somebody dropped one off, and I still have it. And
Oh, I see what you're saying. So people can actually come by.
yeah,
with
they
this.
drop them off at the table. And some of our members who go to the table, I know one of them actively collects them. He looks for the rare ones, the ones he doesn't have, and he collects them.
The
But
challenges we put ourselves through.
well, you got to find some way to entertain yourself. But yeah, they're absolutely they're completely off base. I mean, this guy is completely off base. The guy who does these tracks, but.
I know
They're a lot of fun.
we have some of the most interesting people come to the booth, and some of them they want information, others want to converse, and some just basically want to tell us where we're going.
Oh yeah, that does happen frequently, and but it's just funny. We go there. You go to a festival. There's probably 5, 10 church booths around.
Always.
Yeah, always.
Too bad they're not around us.
Sometimes they are. Sometimes we'll be across the aisle from one, or they'll be next
that
next
makes
to.
it a little bit more interesting.
It does
We
make it
can-
entertaining.
Hi. We can just kind of wave
Yeah.
at them and.
Oh, we do get entertained from time to time, and actually, we got a lot of flack in the public when we did one in Sunbury, and the Sunbury Festival organizers put us physically in front of a church. So the entire time we had our booth up there with our literature and our all that other stuff, right in front of a church, and they got a lot of heat for doing that. So the next year they moved us. We were then in front of the courthouse.
Isn't that's hilarious? Yeah, but in front of the courthouse, I think is the most appropriate place to be because we're always putting up our signs, separation of church and state.
Yeah, so as long as you don't put the church in front of the courthouse.
Exactly.
Put us there.
yeah.
At least
At least you're honoring that separation of church and state.
Right.
I would say anyway.
But to get back to missionary work, I enjoy talking to missionaries. I found it interesting. We had a missionary come visit one of our meetings in Lemoyne, and she's actually fairly well known in the area, but I don't want to go into that. But she's very nice. She's done a lot of good work when she goes over there. She goes over there connected with the church, and they try to do a lot of things for the poor people and stuff like that. And it's with the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. But I asked her the question. Couldn't you do this work without the church? I mean, there are a lot of secular organizations that do provide aid, humanitarian aid. And the reason I asked her that is because it's connected to a Catholic organization. They do it in Africa and other places like that, but obviously they can't give out condoms or anything like that. And with the AIDS being a huge issue in Africa, and especially married couples and such.
And that brings the question: what are they really being effective in that area?
Exactly, and I asked her that, and she really didn't have an answer for me. I mean, you could tell that she was pained because she doesn't agree with their position. She doesn't agree with not providing that kind of a service, especially with the AIDS rid epidemic over there. She doesn't agree with it, but she goes because she feels like she wants to do good. But it challenges her notions somewhat to say, well.
And see, this is part of the issue that I have. Part of what I want to bring up. Why do we have to go over there with our beliefs?
Right.
And say, well, we're going to help you because you're poor, and we're also going to tell you a little bit about what we believe, and hopefully, instead of giving you any kind of critical thinking skills, and instead of teaching you really how to do things on your own, we want to, we're going to do everything for you. And why don't we just go over there because we want to help
Right. Well,
and do what we, I don't mean to keep
no, no,
interrupting you,
you're fine.
but not only help, but bring to that area something. Every country, every area needs something different. It might be condoms in one place, it might be birth control in another, it might be some kind of teaching in another.
Well, missionary work always has strings attached. I mean, if you're going over there and you're saying, we're going to help you and we're going to teach you about God, I mean, it's the ultimate manipulation at that point. That way you're setting up that it's like a marketing campaign for based on masking good deeds with that underlying motivation of converting people.
And that's the problem I have. My problem is not going over, and I think I think it's a wonderful thing to go to these countries and help and do what you can. What I don't think is going over there with the notion that arrogant notion, I call it.
I'm better than you. My religion is better than you.
And everybody else's. So you need to start listening to me, and then I'll help you.
Right.
And I don't like that. I would rather just go there and help them because that's what they need.
Right.
Teach them different ways, give them the skills or different things that they need. A belief in God isn't really going to help the AIDS epidemic, apparently. However, a condom might.
Right.
But belief in God just isn't really working on that one.
Well, it even gets worse in I think it was Islamic countries where they were trying to vaccinate children from things like polio and stuff like that, and they ran into a problem because the concern was that the evil Americans were trying to hurt them. The Crusaders were coming in with their drugs, trying to,
Mm-hmm.
So the sectarian idea of, politics comes into it a little bit, but it was actually mostly a religious and outsider infidel. What are they trying to do to us? Once you got that outsider mentality going on, it causes a huge problem. And, when we become human beings trying to help other human beings, I think that makes for a better outcome. To say,
Well, and going there and just saying, hey, we got vaccinations. This is so that you don't get a disease. Well, that's just great, but they need to know why.
Right.
Again, here we go back to these critical thinking skills and teaching. Don't just go there with your needle and say this is going to be for your own good. No, you need to give information. You need to give appropriate information as to why you're going there, why you think this is good, why they need this, why this is important, what could happen.
Right.
You need to give people knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And going over there and saying, we have a vaccine in our hand and God in the other.
Right.
What is that doing for them?
Yeah, and it's really is a carrot and stick kind of situation. If you want our help, we're going to dangle this carrot of support, but you really need to believe as well, and because we are better than you and all that other stuff. But the idea is that there is an idea out there that atheists or secularism really doesn't, it's been demonized over the years, the idea of secular approach to things like that. But honestly, when you talk about religion as a sectarian behavior, and if you care about other people, that is really the ideals of secular humanism, and the idea that we care about other people and we want to help and we want to do things. And, there are plenty of organizations that really take a secular humanist approach, Doctors Without Borders and the Red Cross and many others. But the idea isn't religion in those cases. It's we just want to help people. Well, we've got 5 minutes left of the
Yeah,
program,
and, you
so.
know, we have a lot of things we ought to tell them about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I want to bring up again about the conference this weekend. We do want to see you there, and I hope to see you there.
I hope,
And,
I hope to be able to meet people.
yeah, come up and say hi, and there's a lot of great speakers. You really should check out the website. There's it's just gonna be a lot of fun, and there's a lot of things going on, and I know I'm gonna be tired at the end of the
Yeah.
weekend. There's gonna be a
Comedy,
lot going on.
entertainment,
Yep.
speakers, lunch, eating.
Especially if you're students, like I said, $10 for the weekend. How could you go wrong with that? So check out the website and get involved. There are a couple other things coming up. The Dan Barker, who will be at the conference, is giving a talk at Messiah College. Or it's not a talk; it's a debate. But I believe tickets are sold out. But if you come to our conference, we may have some tickets available. We're going to have a silent auction. These tickets are
that's
completely
exciting.
unavailable, so please, there's just going to be a whole lot of people there, and you should come see it. The following weekend, we're going to be having a booth at East Pennsboro at the Pumpkin Fest.
And I've heard this is a really fun one.
Oh,
I've
it
heard
is.
This is a really fun place to go.
It's at the Adams Rickey Park. It is a lot of fun. I've been there. This will be my third or fourth year, and we have. This is one where we still have churches coming up to us, but we also have a lot of friendly faces as well. We've been there for several years, so it is just a blast. We're there the whole weekend. We'll be there Saturday and Sunday, and depending on the weather, we might have our Soak and Angry Atheist
Wow.
booth as well.
That's going to be exciting.
It depends on the weather.
Yes.
It might be if it's this cool, we may not do it.
Well, then we'd
but
really have an angry atheist. on
you,
our
you,
hands.
you would, yeah. And I mean, I spent a lot of time in that booth, and I can deal with the cold weather, but wet at 50 degrees is a little much. So
I agree, yeah.
So it does depend on what the temperature is, but definitely drop by and say hi. We love to talk to you, and you can.
It's going to be fun. Just come to the festival, come by, and even if you just walk right past our booth, whatever.
Right.
You know what? It's just a lot of fun. Bring your kids out.
One more thing for the conference. The mayor of Harrisburg, Linda Thompson, is going to be giving our welcoming talk.
Wow, that is exciting.
She's going to welcome us to the city, and
That's the first I've heard of that news. That is really exciting.
yeah, so she'll be coming. Like I said, many other speakers that you can check the website out. There's a ton to do. Our next show is going to be Tuesday, October 9th at 6 p.m. on this channel. Please don't miss out on that.
And if there, again, on your screen, if there's something else, something you want us to talk about, something you think is not being brought up or mentioned, give us a shout. We put
check
our
us out
Facebook
on
up there.
check us out on our website and on Facebook. You can leave us a comment or send us a note, and we'll see that.
Yeah, I want to hear from people. Send us something.
Right. And so I want to thank everybody for watching, and I hope to see you in 2 weeks. And I think we're going to be wrapping up here any second now. So as soon as I want to have everybody I hope you have a great 2 weeks, and I hope to see you at our events.
Yeah, and you know what? Again, call us.
Yeah.
Be ready with that phone. Have a cup of coffee in your hand. Whatever you do.
Bye, everybody. Have a
Bye.
great time.